Reality Transurfing, Book 3, Forward to the Past, by Vadim Zeland. Importance Potentials. First letter. Tell me how to escape fear, anxiety, and panic. How do you do it in practice? For example, someone I care about has left, my daughter, my son, and anxiety rolls over me and envelops me. Did they get there okay? Why aren't they calling? Vadim's response. You've touched upon an interesting but complicated subject. There is no universal recipe against fear. And if there would be a simple and effective remedy, dissolving fear without altering consciousness, then it would have become one of the greatest discoveries of all time. Let me repeat that. And if there would be a simple and effective remedy, dissolving fear without altering consciousness, then it would have become one of the greatest discoveries of all time. In transurfing terminology, fear is an excess energy potential, generated when too great a significance is attached to the object of fear. An excess potential disrupts the balance in the energy field and hence gives rise to forces aimed at eliminating the excess potential. Let's suppose that you have to walk along an edge of a cliff and you are terrified of falling down. In what way can the balancing forces eliminate this potential? The least power-consuming method would be to throw you off the cliff and put an end to that. Nature always takes the path that requires the least energy. But since such an alternative does not suit you, you have to overcome the resistance of balancing forces. That is, you have to keep yourself together. It turns out that in order to balance out the potential of fear, you must make additional effort. Let me repeat that. It turns out that in order to balance out the potential of fear, you must make additional effort. As a result, you spend twice the energy on the potential itself and on maintaining it. There is almost no free energy left, and that is why a kind of stupor arises. If the fear potential is great enough, you are unable to keep it under control, and then the balancing forces are doing whatever they want with you. In other words, there is panic, and you are carried away by the forces in the direction of extinguishing the potential, that is, towards your ruin. If you were to consciously lower the bar of importance of the situation, then your fear would go away. But the whole problem is that you won't be able to consciously drop importance. Thus, the only efficient remedy is having a safety net or an alternative route. It could be different things in different situations. If you do not have a safety net, then all you can do in a situation like that is not to fight the anxiety. Trying to persuade yourself not to be afraid is pointless. Fooling yourself won't help you. Any form of fighting your fear will only take away your energy and make the excess potential worse. Let me repeat that. Trying to persuade yourself not to be afraid is pointless. Fooling yourself won't help you. Any form of fighting your fear will only take away your energy and make the excess potential worse. If it is impossible for you to not be afraid, be afraid. Act as you know how, just don't fight the fear itself. For example, if you are nervous before making a presentation, go ahead and be nervous. Worry naturally and with maximum pleasure. Give yourself away completely to this fantastic feeling. Let yourself lose your mind the way that you like best. As soon as you allow yourself to do this, all your nervousness will in some magical way disappear somewhere unknown. That happens because a significant part of the energy is spent on fighting the nervousness. Anxiety and worry are less powerful manifestations of fear. Here, importance is produced by expecting the unknown. In that case, there is a possibility of consciously lowering the bar of importance. If something is worrying you, explain to yourself that it really doesn't pay to worry. Fears and worst expectations are usually realized. Let me repeat that paragraph. Anxiety and worry are less powerful manifestations of fear. Here, importance is produced by expecting the unknown. In that case, there is the possibility of consciously lowering the bar of importance. If something is worrying you, explain to yourself that it really doesn't pay to worry. Fears and worst expectations are usually realized. One of the ways to eliminate anxiety is through action, no matter what kind of action it is. The potentials of anxiety and worry dissolve in action. Idle worry will hang in the air until you start acting actively. Let me repeat that. Idle worry will hang in the air until you start acting actively. The nature of your activity may not even have anything to do with the object of your worry. It is enough to just start doing something, and you will feel right away how your worry is subsiding. A good reference point for lowering the bar of importance could be the principle of coordination of intention. Everything is running the way it should. Allow yourself to not know how the events should develop. Release your grip of control over the script and give the situation an opportunity to successfully resolve itself. The circumstances will automatically start developing in your favor if you will be consciously moving with the flow and not beating the water with your hands. The principle of coordination of intention works. You can be sure of that. The world isn't going to make trouble for anyone, not because there are powers that will allegedly take care of you, but because less energy is spent that way. Nature doesn't spend energy in vain. To nature, it is unprofitable to spend energy on you. Trouble is always associated with excessive energy consumption. Well-being, on the other hand, is the norm and requires minimum energy. The human mind, not having any idea about the way of least resistance, is fighting the flow of variations and piling up obstacles and problems onto himself. And where else should they come from? No one has yet abolished the law of energy conservation. Only you shouldn't understand the principle of coordination literally. For example, you shouldn't be getting into the heat of it all and at the same time keep telling yourself that everything is going as planned. But in general and on the whole, you can rely on the principle of coordination. Second letter. This is my problem. I put very high goals before me, but I am always surrounded by pendulums that are bothering me. I cannot talk to anyone about my goal, discuss my interests, and even my family is telling me that I won't succeed. While observing people, I see that everyone is practically the same. Please give me some kind of advice. Vadim's response. Naturally, pendulums will be in your way. They are in everyone's way. To bring their counteraction to a minimum, it is necessary that you keep the bar of importance low. That is, don't attach excessively great significance to anything. Let me repeat that. Don't attach excessively great significance to anything. Such a recommendation sounds unusual, yet the majority of problems are specifically caused by high internal and external importance levels. Let me repeat that. The majority of problems are specifically caused by high internal and external importance levels. Very high goals are not at all hard to achieve, per se. The habitual stereotypes of your mind are what make them hard to achieve. You can break these stereotypes with the help of the principle of coordination of intention. You can achieve any goal if it is yours. If the goal is someone else's, then when you will be playing in your thoughts the image of where the goal has already been achieved, you'll be experiencing emotional discomfort of your soul. When it comes to the choice of your goal and the specific matters concerning the means of achieving it, you can only take into account what others are telling you, but not more than that. Your soul commands should guide your action and not the advice of other people, particularly your family that really wish you only the best. But actually I cannot determine the exact nature of your problem from your letter. The following phrase is especially strange. While observing people, I see that practically everyone looks the same.
Continuation of the previous letter.
I would like to explain all the people around me, including my parents and friends, do not understand me, my desires. They make me act out of their interests. They do not even understand how anyone can think the way I do, and I am someone who prefers strict discipline, planning my day in advance, activity, persistence, perseverance in achieving my goal. I am someone who strives to obtain new knowledge and so on. But my parents make me forget about it. They tell me that I need to find a job, relax and live. In my opinion, these are low goals. While all my friends have a philosophy of life that is, in my opinion, even worse, how to skip a class, how to make someone else feel bad, they can even offend our teacher. They discuss, in my opinion, uninteresting topics. They are also bothering me in class. In addition, my parents are always fighting. Vadim's response. Now the picture is somewhat clearer. I don't know, will you like my answer? But it is up to me to suggest, and then you decide. After all, I do not impose anything on anyone. You ask, I answer. So, to solve this problem, you need to fool around. Quite literally. I am completely serious saying this. Do not think that I am mocking you. You should pick the fool very carefully. Here you need to demonstrate all of the positive qualities that you have. Pedantry, concentration, being goal-oriented. Preferably it should be an inanimate object, so as not to cause him any discomfort. Consider very carefully what you could use. I can suggest one alternative, a teddy bear. Once a suitable fool has been found, develop an intelligible plan. Where, when, and how you will fool him around. It would be very useful to make a manual with a detailed description of actions, something like this. The fooling about of the above-mentioned fool is accomplished by rotating of the said fool along the longitudinal axis. The fool should be on a flat surface, in a state that is not preventing of its turning. The rotation of the fooled fool is made by the means of applying consecutive efforts, produced by the arms of the one fooling the fool around, and so on, along the same lines. All in all, your manual and plan must be put together rather religiously, with clarifying of all possible details, including safety instructions. Treat this matter with all seriousness. As a result, you should have an impressive project. I project that you organize it as an office presentable project and arrange it into a business folder. Once the project is done, proceed with its realization. Thoroughly prepare for this event and diligently produce all of the necessary actions, strictly adhering to the manual. You should carry out all the actions seriously and thoroughly, from time to time consulting the manual. Your face must look very intelligent and concentrated. If fits of imbecile laughter will get in the way, you can stop fooling the fool around for a while, laugh and snort. You can laugh no more, calm down, and then continue. You're still thinking that I am mocking you? The thing is that the root of your problems is hidden in the elevated potential of your internal importance. You write, I am someone who prefers strict discipline, planning my day in advance, activity, persistence, perseverance in achieving my goal, but I am always surrounded by pendulums that are bothering me. You ask too much of yourself, and possible of others. I cannot claim, but I assume that you loaded yourself with the role of the person that seriously and with all responsibility does something important. If that is the case, then there should always be people fussing around you with qualities completely opposite of your own. For example, you will be bothered by irresponsible, unfocused, undisciplined troublemakers. Basically, all kinds of jerks will try to ruin your strict planning. Why is that? Because your excess potential of internal importance generates a strong polarization. People with opposite qualities will be drawn to you as iron chips to a magnet. This is how balancing forces work, which are aimed at eliminating the potential. The world around you is your mirror. But if you create excess potentials of internal and external importance, the mirror is distorted. This distortion of reality manifests in you being surrounded by pendulums that are bothering you. To be precise, people bothering you are not pendulums, but they're string puppets. Pendulums feel the energy of your potential and make people behave in a way that will annoy you. You get irritated, but the jester is jumping even more violently. The pendulum is swinging him and harvesting the energy of your irritation. However, should you only drop the potential of importance, as the image of the world around you will gradually transform. The same people may stay in it, but they will act completely different towards you. Once the polarization disappears, the mirror will get smoothed out and reality will get back to normal. But what causes this polarization? Can it really be your positive qualities? Not at all. You have great qualities. They do you credit, and without doubt they will help you in your life. Polarization appears as an effect of a relationship of dependence. Your personal qualities do not induce any changes in the surrounding energy picture until you start comparing yourself to others. For example, you are thinking, I am disciplined, while they are slobs. They are slow-witted, while I am goal-oriented. This contrasting is what drags on the polarization. By performing the current ritual, you will reduce to zero your entire internal importance. But perhaps you will find such a ritual unacceptable. Then it would be better if you would just stop comparing yourself to the people around you. Allow yourself to be you and others to be different. Release your grip. Let me repeat that. Allow yourself to be you and others to be different. Release your grip. The moment you do this, polarization will disappear and the world around you will be in some inconceivable way change its face. It will stop being in your way. That is when you will understand what reality transurfing is. Let me repeat that whole paragraph. By performing the current ritual, the Fool ritual, you will reduce to zero your entire internal importance. But perhaps you will find such a ritual unacceptable. Then it would be better if you would just stop comparing yourself to the people around you. Allow yourself to be you and others to be different. Release your grip. The moment you do this, polarization will disappear, and the world around you will in some inconceivable way change its face. It will stop being in your way. That is when you will understand what reality transurfing is. Another letter. You advised one serious reader to fool around. And what should those people do who get too carried away fooling around? How to make yourself do serious work? Vadim's response. You do not want to do any serious work, not because it is serious, but because it is not your work. Laziness is a state of one's soul. Of course, she doesn't have any desire to do something that is alien to her. Perhaps she came into this world not to work hard for some pendulum, but to bask in the sun by the warm sea, or go skiing in the Alps, or to travel. Aren't there plenty of different pleasures in this world? And who's going to work then? The angry pendulum will ask. Well, you could answer casually with the words of a fun student song. Leave the job to that shaggy boar, it shouldn't roam about and roar. Quite so. After all, sense of duty and necessity is something pendulums came up with. In reality, our world is so rich and generous, there is enough of its wealth to go around. If everyone would move towards his or her goal through his or her door. That will probably never happen, but every man, if he would want it, could transform the layer of his world into a very cozy little place. To do that, you'd need to find your goal and your door. If you will be moving towards your goal, you won't have to persuade or force yourself. The soul will skip away to her goal through her door. Your goal could seem like troublesome work to others, but to you it would be a nice pleasure. While you are moving towards someone else's goal through someone else's door, you are working for a pendulum. On this path, your soul will always tell you, I don't want to. I don't want to. And the mind will keep telling you, you have to. This is the path to nowhere, no matter how many reasonable arguments and beautiful decorations it is lined with. There is only one way out, to identify your goal and move towards it. Let me repeat that. There is only one way out, to identify your goal and move towards it. And meanwhile, the cure against forced necessity could be a game. Remember how back in your childhood you were playing adult games, shop or hospital for instance? So imagine now that you should not be working but playing. You suffer from forced necessity only if you bury yourself in this game. Take on the role of a playing viewer. Act in a detached manner. Do not dedicate yourself entirely to something that you have to do. Imagine that it is a game. Rent yourself out. End segment.